Alright guys, so in this tutorial we are going to discuss if and else statements, which is very exciting to me. So let's get started right now itself. So what I just did now was write an if statement in the parameters of that if statement we can write a condition. For example, if 1 is equal to 0, and this equal to is a conversion type operator, I believe. I will be clarifying it in our next tutorial, the different types of yes, this is a comparison type operator. So I will be teaching you comparison type operators in our next tutorial. So if 1 is equal to 0, do nothing. I have not wrote nothing in the message in the curly brackets. These are the uh, this is the place where you will write your um, result. If that if statement is true, then the following result will be executed. But as we wrote here, if 1 is equal to 0, which cannot be true, if 1 is equal to 0, then do nothing else. This is the else statement, and notice that there are no parameters on this one because this one will only execute if the first one is false. So let's write it. Else will only execute when the if statement return a value of false. In our next tutorial we are also going to discuss the Boolean type, which is very important when using if statements. So now if 1 is equal to 0, do nothing. If else, display message box that show 1 is not equal to 0. Now let's execute the program and see what happens. 1 is not equal to 0. we are we are obviously using the form1 event. That's why you see that the message was shown before the form. And now there is another type of statement which is called the else if statement. It can only occur after a if statement. I cannot write an else if here, else if something happens. You see, an error occurs. That's because it must occur. That's because the code else if must always be written after the if code, after the if statement. Now, else if we have to provide another condition. 1 is greater than 0. This is another comparison operator. Remember, we will discuss comparison operator in detail in our next tutorial, as well as data type boolean. So else if 1 is greater than 0, uh, we will write that message 1 is greater than 0. Right, so let's run this program. 1 is greater than 0, and notice that the else statement wasn't executed because it only executes when the if statement or the else if statement is false. When the if statement or return a value of false, or the else if return a value of false. Okay, so that's it for else if statement and if statement, else statement. Now, these are used very often in programming language. I saw this in the JavaScript language, in C Sharp, and in certain other languages. Why they are used very often? That's because these are conditions. For example, we can have conditions to compare uh, data from databases. For instance, we can have an authentication. For example, if the password and user ID of a user is correct, then log in that user, else doesn't don't log in that user. But right now there are methods for doing so as well, but it's very necessary to know how things work in the programming language so that you can troubleshoot when something is going wrong. Okay, so thanks for watching. This is me signing off.